one day he came over and he was like, but what is it? Like, what's the thing that makes you do that? And I looked at him and I thought, what a great question.
Someone once wiser and smarter than me said, everything moves at the speed of trust. What is up, everybody? And welcome back to the Schooling Struggle Podcast. It is our belief that the only guarantee in life is that we're all going to struggle, and how we embrace our struggles is what empowers us to become the best versions of ourselves. My name is Pete, and with me is my co-host Todd, and I'm really fired up for tonight's conversation. But before we get into it, what's up, Todd?
Peter, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I think my lead up to this recording went a little smoother than yours, but we're both here, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I've been schooling struggle since, around 4 o'clock this afternoon. It's 5:30 now, so thank you for your patience.
Getting started an hour and a half late for a number of, let's just call it a comedy of errors that led to this.
Yes, let's call it that. It's a great thing to call it.
Getting locked out of your house isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's the things it's fine. It's fine. We take it in stride.
My heat's back on, so I'm psyched about that.
What'd that cost you?
Yeah. I don't like to get into details. Couple grand.
Same. I was locked out. You were locked in.
I didn't even have to go into anyone's sock drawer to pay for this one. I did it all by myself.
Good job.
Yeah.
Today's been an interesting day.
Interesting is good.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want it to be boring.
No. I actually have one more story because earlier the comments you made about being locked out were funny to me because earlier I work from home from my living room here, and I've been on meetings all day long, and the dog, her name's Izzy, she likes to be antisocial, and so when anybody knocks on the door, the Amazon guy, the neighbor, it doesn't matter who it is, even my own family, she'll just go off into a tirade of barking, and I'm like, oh, I hope nobody can hear that. Anyways, today she went off on this tirade of barking, which now I've kind of blocked out, or I kind of shoot an odd look at my kid, like, go take care of the dog, so I have to deal with this. And hours later, my wife comes in, she's like, did you see what was going on? I was like, no. Apparently, my son parks his car next to the street. This is the whole Tacoma thing. And somebody pulled up behind it. A lady got out with a gas can, and a guy got out and went to the driver's door and tried to open it. And she had the gas can over by the filler door for the fuel. And Rylan's watching all that unfold from the front window. And he goes out there and he's like, what are you doing to my car? And he's like, oh, this is my car. I just need to put some gas in. He's like, do you think I'm crazy? Like, that's your car? Like, this is clearly my car. I parked in front of my house. And they're like, oh, sorry, wrong car. And then they just took off. That's what goes on in Tacoma. That was the highlight of the day.
I thought you were saying they were like going to try to siphon the gas out of his car because that's exactly what was happening.
Yeah,
in the broad daylight, right in front of your house.
Yeah, right in front of my house. And I was just like, huh.
How can you siphon gas with a gas can, or you need like a special pump for it or something?
Well, I don't know. All you need is some sort of suction device, so a hose, and then you dump it in the gas tank, or a gas can. But it was just, gas prices are up in Tacoma, so times are tough. People are farming gas now out of vehicles on the side of the road.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Probably did that in Vermont by you anyway.
Well, we're $1 less a gallon than you right now, so maybe in a couple of weeks we'll be there.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, anyways, lock up your gas doors because it could happen.
Just don't get caught stealing someone's maple syrup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing it. Sorry.
All right. Let's get back on track. I've come to learn that a vast number of our listeners are not only people who are striving to be better versions of themselves, but many of the roles that they play in their lives are people who are striving to help other people be better versions of themselves.
Awesome.
And that's such a really cool thing. Many people I know that listen to this podcast are teachers. There's definitely parents that are trying to school the struggles of their kids. I have students who listen to this that are captains of their sports teams, all different types of people that are in positions that are trying to lead or help others be better versions of themselves. And I am currently in the process, I'm actually exactly halfway through, of taking a nutrition course. And it's neat to learn about the macronutrients, the micronutrients, and its effect on human performance and health and wellness. But a big portion of the course is how to relate to people and how to help them make positive change in their life. Anyone who knows anyone that's tried to make a nutritional change, it's a really challenging endeavor. So a big part of this process is learning to empathize with people who are striving to make change in their life. And as I was doing my studying and my reading recently, I came across something that I thought was really helpful, and I thought it would be a good thing to chat about tonight.
Okay.
So we've talked on multiple episodes about motivation and inspiration and those types of things, and I haven't heard it put in this sense, but this book says that the drivers of motivation are mastery, autonomy, and purpose. And I think a good place to start would be for us to define what those are, because we've received feedback that defining some of the stuff that we talk about would be really helpful so that we're all on common ground here. And prior to hitting record, I asked Todd to look those definitions up for us. So if you could just make mention to the definitions of mastery, autonomy, and purpose, we can take it from there.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to start with autonomy because I just found one that actually was a bit different than the one I found at the beginning. Autonomy, it says here, is the capacity to make an informed, uncoerced decision, which I like. Mastery is comprehensive knowledge or skill in a subject or accomplishment. And finally, we have purpose, which is the reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists as a noun or as a verb, to have as one's intention or objective.
Okay. So with that thought, those three factors, or those three drivers of motivation in mind, now I'm going to back up to the 5 stages of motivation, because ultimately what we are trying to do, or what we're trying to help people do, is to make a change, or to help someone make a change that is sustainable. And when a change becomes sustainable, it's no longer a change, it's just now part of your lifestyle. And we refer to that as maintenance. So it's just keeping up with it, not striving to make that change anymore. The change is already in place, and now it's just a regular part of our life, right? So within the stages of change, each element of motivation is important. It must be achieved to reach that maintenance. And basically the goal is to build up the competence and confidence in order to reach maintenance. So what my course was saying was that when we're trying to make a change, or we're trying to help someone make a change, it's important to recognize what they call the 5 stages of change. And those are these. Number 1, pre-contemplation. And that is basically someone who is not even aware that a behavior or a change needs to be made. People in this stage may not even be consciously aware of the risks of their behavior, and they minimize concern about the risks and have no intention to change the behavior. Then the second stage is what they call contemplation. It's when the decision balance is equal, so the person sees the cons as equal to the pros. And those barriers make the person not super interested in making any changes. So they're aware of the changes, but there's too many barriers, and they don't have confidence that they can overcome those barriers. Stage 3 is what they call preparation. And that's when you have, or the person has the desire to change and are seeking a way, or are trying to find a way through it. So people in the preparation stage are ready to take action. They see the pros as greater than the cons, and the decisional balance has shifted in favor of the change. So they think the change is worth making. The 4th stage is what they call action. And the action stage is characterized by measurable steps toward changing one's behavior through conscious efforts. And according to what they're saying, is you really need to be in that action stage for about 6 months for it to evolve into maintenance. And in maintenance, you're continuing to do what is needed simply to maintain the desired behavior. So people in the maintenance stage have maintained their positive changes for more than 6 months. They feel greater confidence about themselves and consistently rate the pros of change as greater than the cons. So they've made this commitment, they've seen the light, so to speak, and they're living out the benefits of making that change. So I found this to be very, very interesting. I actually hadn't heard of it before. And I've done a lot of looking into inspiration, motivation, aspiration, taking action, those types of things. I thought this one was pretty neat. So basically what they're saying is, in order to get to the point where you're maintaining, you need to have gone through these 5 stages. They haven't said specifically if you need to go through them in chronological order or if you can skip steps, but basically that there has to be a level of autonomy, mastery, and purpose. When people are given autonomy and have confidence, their level of motivation increases. When people achieve mastery over what they're doing, motivation increases. When people have a deeper sense of purpose in the things they do, they're much more motivated to do them. So I just did a lot of talking, but I'm curious to know your initial thoughts or responses to all that I just shared.
Congratulations on taking a nutrition class to grow yourself. I think that's pretty awesome. As you were reading those things, I thought of two things. One, I thought of the coaching class that I'm in and these coaching things that I've taken and how those touch on points of not, they don't articulate it as well, I don't think, or maybe it doesn't resonate with me in that way. Those are very succinct, the ones you just read, and they seem like they're very actionable when I think back across instances of my own life where I have done something in that way to create a new habit, to create a new standard, I guess is the best way I look at it. It also seems to me that they're a bit more psychologically prescriptive. Like here are the I think they're actually in chronological order. I don't know if you can skip one. Maybe you could if you're really good at it. But I think of them as kind of the more nuts and bolts about how do you get somebody, that's not the right word, how do you inspire or empower somebody to make those changes within themselves. And I think diet is a huge one, right? Because it's often like, oh, I could change the way I go for a walk, or I could change the way I, do the dishes. But if I have to change the way I do something as fundamental as how I eat, like that's a hard sell for a lot of people, right? And we've gone over that with sugar and all these different things. So
a lot of changes aren't straight. I mean, quite frankly, for many people, just aren't worth making that change. Like, I'm not going to give up this to maybe get that.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. And the second thing I thought, there was a guy at work that I used to work with. His name was Mark, and Mark was stage 2 diabetic, and he would take insulin shots, and he would monitor his blood glucose level and all these different things with the doctor. And it was obvious looking at him that he was just very overweight and wasn't and just lacked esteem in that area of diet. And he would watch me come in every day, and of course I'm changing my diet all the time, and I'm telling him about CrossFit and all these crazy things, and I'm making all these cookies. And he's like, one day he came over and he was like, but what is it? Like, what's the thing that makes you do that? And I looked at him and I thought, what a great question, because I don't know what the thing is. It's just that I'm just interested in playing with those dials, where he didn't even see the levers himself. And so I got him on this thing, and it's right. Cause as you were telling me, it's like, yeah, I went through pre-contemplation. I was like, aren't you tired of like, taking insulin all the time and having to get at these, you got these needles, you got to poke yourself. And then a couple of weeks later, he was like, yeah, you're kind of right. My doctor, I don't really like doing that. And we went through all of these steps in a very long time. And then finally he switched his diet and turned it all the way around. And to watch him bloom and to watch him say, he came into work one day and he would wait for me to get there. And he's like, guess what? And I'm like, what? And he's like, I don't have to take any more prescriptions today. I was like, yeah. So it's like those wins. But when you're talking about mastery, like all of those things come into play to see somebody overcome and create something new about themselves. And so I think that's cool. And there's one more part. We've said this before, and I say this all the time, but how do you make the horse thirsty? And I think this is a recipe for some of that, right? That's what I think.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, that's awesome. While I was reading this, I was actually looking at the 5 stages, going, all right, like I'm somewhere in each of these with different goals or facets of my life, right? Like,
yep.
I have friends that are incredibly environmentally conscious, and like there's so much about my lifestyle that is wasteful, consumeristic, that I don't even recognize. So that's just one little example of like my friend to be like, oh, we do it this way. I'm like, holy crap, I never would even considered doing it that way.
Right.
So that's totally that pre-contemplation. Like, yeah, nothing. I'm doing everything right. Like, I compost my stuff and bring my stuff to recycling. Like, what else do I need to do?
Yeah.
And there's a lot. There's a lot. So I was thinking, all right, where am I on each? What's an example from my life where I could be in each of these steps? But I have a really difficult time reading and learning about stuff and just keeping it to myself. Like, I want to share it with the world, and particularly my students, which is one of the reasons why I really felt compelled to start this podcast. I can't just lay in bed at night and read like a self-help book and be like, oh, that's cool, I should try that. I'm like, no. Like, how can I put this in language that the people that I care most about can really digest this and apply to their lives?
You ever thought about being a teacher?
I drive myself batty with that stuff. Yeah. So when I'm reading this stuff, I'm going, oh, this is cool, but like, what do I do with this? How do I take these 5 stages to help anyone that I know that's trying to make a lifestyle change? And often in my world, it is nutrition or fitness related. That's where people tend to come to me for the stuff. I mean, as we're having more of these conversations, people are finding out about our content. People are coming to me for more mindset stuff, which is really cool. Like, as you know, I'm not a certified anything, but I'm an expert in what I'm interested in, I guess. Nice. Not really, but so anyway, so I got to thinking, all right, like, so what are the next steps then for me? And lo and behold, as I continued to read, they shared some stuff that I thought was really helpful. And this is part of the reason why I wanted to bring it on the show tonight. So they talk about what they call motivational interviewing. And I think that's just a fancy word for having a good conversation with somebody. And basically, they recommend, or part of the process, and this is developed by clinical psychologist William Miller and Stephen Rolnick. So this is like backed by, I don't know, some people that seem to know, that definitely know more than me. And they said, so, and I love this first one. So if you want to help someone be a better version of themselves and you want to connect with them in that journey and partner with them, the first thing you need to do is express empathy through reflective listening, right? Because when someone feels understood, they're more likely to trust you.
Right.
And as someone once wiser and smarter than me said, everything moves at the speed of trust. Now, we could do a whole different episode on that. Which
yes,
I love.
we could.
So that's number one. Express empathy through reflective listening. Number two would be uncover ambivalences. And for the sake of our podcast here, because I didn't know the actual definition of ambivalence. Ambivalence is having mixed feelings or contradictory ideas about something. So somebody that might want to make a change has contradictory ideas or is trepidatious about what they're going to do with that process, and we can help them work through that. Another one is avoid argument and direct confrontation. So it's not so much I'm the guru and I'm telling you what to do, is I want to learn, understand where you're at so that I can help you. So avoiding argument and direct confrontation, and then adjust to their resistance rather than opposing it directly. So if I'm in the process where I'm trying to help someone and they're resisting something, then this happens to me every day in school while I'm trying to help a student, like, oh, we should try this movement. They're like, well, I'm not going to do that movement. Instead of saying, no, you have to do this movement, say, okay, the stimulus of this movement is this. How can we get the same stimulus doing something else? And if you're not familiar with the term, the stimulus is just what you're trying to get out of the workout, or what you're trying to garner from the exercise. So if it's a core movement and the kid doesn't want to do a sit-up, we can find another way to enhance the student's core strength. So that's adjusting to the resistance rather than opposing it. I think that's where PE teachers from back in the day get such a bad rap, right? They oppose everything. You're going to climb the rope. You're going to do it with the uniform on.
Until you fall on the ground.
Yeah. My brother, who's 3 years older than me, said that when he was in third grade, he got in the initial club in his PE class. And what they did was they climbed a rope that was hanging from the basketball gym ceiling. So high, like probably over 20 feet high. He's a third grader. You climb up with a pencil in your mouth and you get to the top and you take the pencil and you write your initials on the ceiling in the gym and then you climb down. Classic 80s right there.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, totally getting off task. And then the last one is to support the person with encouragement and optimism. So those are really helpful for me. Like express empathy, uncover ambivalence, avoid argument and confrontation, adjust rather than oppose, and support with encouragement and optimism. And I think, man, if every Little League coach in the world were to see that, I think Little League would be a much happier place for everybody. So this is just some really cool stuff. The whole point why I wanted to have this podcast is to just share the cool stuff that I'm learning. And I think that this is helpful for me.
It's interesting for me to hear you say that, because the way that I observe you, I had in person when I came and visit, and I still see it. Actually, I feel it more now through these conversations and through your reflection of what you do. But to me, all 5 of those points, you already knocked those out of the park. And if I think about the conversation we had last week about write down like the steps by which we do those things, I think that if you did that exercise, you would find that you already have a serious toolbox with multiple things in it that do this work.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I think it's easy.
You don't think you could get better. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's easy just to look at where our shortcomings are, and I think I tend to do that. Yeah. But
fair.
Yeah, one big struggle that keeps coming up in our conversations in our schooling struggle focus here is lifestyle change or change of any nature, and this is just a completely different way to look at it for me. And it's just so fascinating to think about all the things that I need to that I should change that I'm not even aware of. You know,
why? Just because you found this in a book?
No, it's like I know what I know and I don't know what I don't know. So it gets me thinking, like, what is it that I don't know that I need to think about? Like I was leaving, I had a meeting with the equity coordinator of our district, and I was leaving the meeting, and I said to the people in the meeting as I was leaving, I had to leave early, and I said, "I'll see you guys later."
Oh yeah.
And it was,
Right.
it was just a group of all sexes and genders, and I made that comment. And I walked away going, "Nope, like there's a better way for me to do that."
Uh-huh.
Even if I need to sound Southern and say y'all, I need to say y'all instead of you guys. It's just little things like that. And then,
Yeah.
so it's like, all right, what else am I doing that I don't notice that, I'm in this pre-contemplation stage. And that, so one thing I want to talk about is how do we get from that pre-contemplation stage to that stage 2, where we're now aware of it. And then we have to decide if we want to even go forward with making the effort to make the change.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right. So is it my wife's role to help me with that? I hope so. Is it my daughter's role to help me with that? I hope so. Like every person that's in my life,
Wow.
like I want to be a type of person where people are comfortable enough coming to me and saying, "Yo, like you should think about fixing this thing, or you should think about considering this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I think we have a whole conversation about that too. But I think that there's a couple key elements there. I think one is you have to be open to that, obviously, right? Like people have to feel like it's safe to tell you what you have told them that you want, right? But you also have to have people around you who are diverse enough to give you different perspectives that aren't just in your constant purview, right? Like your daughter and your wife, like you live with them, so they already know, like, oh, the old man's going to throw the bread out the window. I better be careful. You know what I mean? Like, so there's like you have, what is it they say? Surround yourself with 5 people, or I don't know, I can't remember exactly what it's
You
called.
are the sum, or you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Right, and so equally for them, but it's very interesting. How can you not know what you don't know? And I think that's really the only way, right? Is you have to hold a space for people and have that awareness that I know I can do better, and you have to articulate that as well. So I think the first one is surround yourself with people who you can trust and that trust you. And second is lean into the discomfort and say, I don't know what I'm doing, but I would really like to know your thoughts on that. And I think that those two are the magic mixture to get to number 2 of contemplation.
Contemplation. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I really fell in love with the term better than yesterday many, many years ago, and I paid way too much to have a giant banner hung up in the space that I teach that says better than yesterday on it. And the more I kind of dig deep into what it takes to be a better version of yourself, the more I'm learning that like those 3 words are continuing to resonate with me in more and more and more powerful ways, right? So it's like the better than yesterday can mean many, many, many things to many, many, many people, but as we're having this conversation right now in real time, it's unfurling in my mind, being like, all right, so if I approach each day with the willingness to try to find where I can be better in places that I don't recognize, I can be better than yesterday, which is really fascinating.
It is fascinating. We also have the same pen, which is fascinating. Have you ever?
Todd was holding the pen up to the camera as I was talking.
Is that weird?
I was distracted, and we have the exact same pen. Yeah.
3,000 miles
sides
away.
of the country. Who
That's
knew?
just crazy.
But it's like I can be better each day if I'm just willing to seek out where I'm willing to be better.
You nailed it with the key word being willing. And how do you feel about days? Let me ask you this, Peter. You ever get up on days and you're like, today's not going to be better than yesterday? Like you just know it in your mind, or is there maybe it's not when you wake up, like today, for example, for me, like all of these things unraveled and created this microcosm of chaos. And it's very hard for me to think to myself in that I can make this better than yesterday. Like, do you ever have those?
I get that question asked in different ways on a very regular basis. And I think, and maybe I'm just really, really headstrong and just really, really stubborn, and not in a positive way, but just I have beat like a drum into my head that I can learn. If we're not winning, we're learning, right? And I think that's where I feel like I can be better than yesterday. So when a bunch of quote unquote bad things happen, that's an awesome opportunity for me to learn. And the only way that I'm going to be better is if I learn. And I've shared in the past, I truly don't believe in bad days, just challenging moments within 24-hour periods. So it's like, this moment might be challenging, but there's going to be many, many opportunities for me today to be a better version of myself. And these obstacles are only going to help me get there. So No, I don't ever think that today is not going to be a day that's going to be better than
Mm.
yesterday. Now, in reality, of course that happens, but it's never my mindset. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I absolutely love how much I can learn from you. 'Cause earlier I was driving back to the gym to get my keys, and I told you this earlier before the show, but I thought, what would Peter do? And I actually thought that. I wasn't just screwing with you. I was like, I wonder what Peter would do in this case. And like I obviously I have my own pause mechanisms and my own, obviously I'm my own person, but it's very interesting for me to think about what is it that makes it so much different for certain people to go a certain way and other people to fall back. And I think that there's a lot to discuss there, and a lot, especially like for the people that we're hoping to meet with this podcast, or we're hoping to inspire, like, because especially we talk about diet, like all these things that we kind of touch on, is it's so easy to fall back. But how do you maintain that forward looking positivity to keep going forward, right? And I think that's where a lot of people fail. Like we talked about last time. Oh, well, I've already done a bad thing to my diet today, so I don't need to do anything until tomorrow, right? And it just keeps coming the next tomorrow. So I guess my question, or there's a question in here, and along those lines then of you're better than yesterday and how you think about that, where would you say you're on the 5 points of the thing? Like, are you in the action phase on number 4?
It totally depends on the scenario,
Uh,
right? So with this aspect of my life, I'm definitely in the pre-contemplation stage, and with that aspect of my life, I'm definitely in contemplation. And with this thing that I'm working on, I'm in the preparation stage. And in certain aspects of my life, I'm definitely action, and in certain aspects of my
Interesting.
life, I'm not. Like I'm putting stuff off and I'm procrastinating. Yeah, I get up every morning at 4:30 and I work out, so I got the maintenance with
Yeah.
that piece, but I don't have, there's some relationships that I need to do better with. There's definitely, nutrition stuff, there's mindset stuff, there's, you know, being a better, person with the role that I fill for the different people in my life. So I think there's literally infinite
Yeah.
places where I am on this, we all are on this scale with different things. So this comes down to like this one thing that I'm trying to help with this person. Like maybe the goal is not to eat fast food. All right. Like, all right, so with eating fast food, where are you on the scale? Or with
Mm,
working out 5 times a week, where are you on the scale? Or with not losing your temper
yeah.
when somebody treats you a certain way, where are you on the scale? And I think it's overwhelming to think about all the different places that and that's the question I get is it exhausting trying to live better than yesterday all the time? Or why do we have to be better? Why can't we just be? Is it,
Hmm.
is that the point, to always be better? And my response to the person who posed that question was, so do you feel like you're more meaningful and more fulfilled if you're just being rather than striving to be better? And the person responded, yes. I said, well, in my mind, that's being better. You are, you're striving for something. And for me, that's being better. How we word it, or the nuances, or the semantics that we label it as, are all different. But yeah.
Hmm.
So
Well, then the question becomes, or the next question is, how do you know the things that you're going to place your grading system on that? Or is it everything? Like, because I feel like priority is close behind, right? Or maybe in front of it. Like, okay, of all of these things I know I could be, in this range of 1 to 5. How do I know which ones are more meaningful to focus on at any given point in time? Or do you just take them as they come and you just assign them this is where I'm at on this thing?
well,
Because I think
I
people get
think,
lost, right?
yeah, yeah, I think that boils down to the values that we've talked
Yeah.
about and the principles. Like, eh, you know, um,
Is my family more important than the dog food, right? Or whatever
right?
it is.
Like, I recall you saying that one of your core values is justice. So you should be prioritizing that over some other things,
Yeah.
right? Like whether you know the the dog crap is picked up in the yard.
Yeah.
Like that's, what I mean. For some people, having that yard pristine,
There's
and
some
I don't know
justice in
anything.
there, actually.
I don't know anything about your yard or your dogs or anything. I know you have dogs. I know you
Yeah,
have a
they
yard, so
dog.
I'm guessing
Oh,
they
yeah.
poop in the yard.
There
But
you
for
go.
some people, having that pristine yard is that's one of their core
Yeah.
values, is to, so, you know, those types of
Interesting.
things. But, so I do love the 5 factors. So I think those are things that are within our control.
Yeah.
Our sleep, our nutrition, our fitness, our mindset, and how we connect with other people. I think that's a big one. For many people, there's a religious piece in there as well, for sure. And then I think it's, what are my core values to live, love, learn, and lead? with a strong mind, a healthy body, and a grateful spirit.
Nice.
So Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Uh-huh.
I heard the live, love, learn, and lead thing, but it turns out that that's his eighth. That's his eighth habit: to live, love, learn, and leave a legacy.
Oh,
But I
wow.
like lead better because that's like kind of because my teaching thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't even know that originally came from him.
Look at you. Nice
Yeah.
work.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like,
About what part?
what you asked me about, like where you are on those stages with certain aspects of your life. Like, how do you prioritize, or how do you go about your day to day with that better than yesterday mentality? And where do you put your energy and your bandwidth?
I never actually think about it, to be quite honest, unless it's
I,
like right in my face.
I think you're better off.
I don't think so,
Yeah.
actually. Like, I see how you could get lost in it, and
Yeah.
then like I'm just gonna ruminate on this, like how terrible I am. I'm only a step one when clearly I think I should be a step three. But I think having an awareness of these things can help you narrow in that focus on what it is that you find compels you, or the how you map yourself to those values. It's I think the value work has to be done first, or maybe in parallel, or close in parallel. But I've never actually seen all together in one spot, like all of those kind of waypoints. It's kind of like a map, like, oh, here's how you do this thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be interesting for me to find out what book that is and buy that and figure that out, because it's funny finding a nutrition book of all the places on earth.
Right. Yeah.
But,
I mean, I've mentioned this in past episodes too, but the awareness, intention, action. So it almost knocks those 5 into 3. I guess the one before awareness is that pre-contemplation. So I guess that's just not even included in that ladder, or that rung of ladder. But you need the awareness first, and then once you have the awareness, it's your choice whether to make that intentional, and then once it's intentional in your mind, then to take that action. I like that one a lot as well.
yeah, for me, I like the 5 because it's a little more succinct in how it comes down. Plus, it's really easy. I mean, I think you just live it every day, so you like to have it a little more generalized. But
I think it's really important for me that I don't come off, or it doesn't appear that like I think I have it figured out. Like, just because I'm interested in this stuff, I'm learning.
yeah, I think that I was going to say this earlier too when I interrupted you and said, "Oh, you should be a teacher." I learned there's different learning modalities. Obviously, you probably know this because you are a teacher. But one of the best ways to actually learn and retain something is to immediately share it, what you've learned, with other people. And like, I see you do that all the time. And I think this just underlines the fact that you don't think you know everything. It's just you just want to share about this cool thing that you learned.
Yeah.
So
I'm very excited to share this stuff.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So thanks for listening to me.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Anytime.
I'm glad you made it inside your house.
Yeah, that was great.
And I'm glad your computer works.
Yeah.
We went to start the podcast and the service was down. But
we recovered. We're good.
You're a Microsoft engineer, you can turn your computer off and turn it back on. It's amazing.
Yeah, we can always reboot. That's number one.
Well, that should be the name of this episode.
Yeah.
Always reboot.
Yep, always reboot. Or pre-boot. It could be the pre-boot. You never know. You have to
That's true.
Pre-contemplate. Yeah.
Is it pre-boot like when you get kicked out before you get kicked out?
Could be. Or that's when you know it's all going bad and you're like, I should pre-boot this thing.
One of my favorite stand-up comedy acts of all time, George Carlin, and he talks about the airplanes and he says, pre-board, does that mean you get on before you get on? I don't know. Anyway.
George Carlin was great.
All right. Wow. So hopefully those of you out there that are listening, you can apply something that you might have learned tonight, either to your life or to helping someone else be a better version of themselves. With that said, we're so appreciative of your ears. We thank you for your time. We're incredibly grateful for your attention. The Schooling Struggle Podcast is out.
See ya.